So we're working with the earth element in this class. Now, necessarily with the earth element, it's all about connecting with the earth. It's about feeling our grounding and sensing our connection with, the ground, the floor, your yoga mat. So we're going to do a couple of exercises to begin with, some energy work, which is about getting that sense of grounding. The first one, we're going to use a breath and a sound. So the sound, on an in-breath, we have the mouth open and we make a kind of gasp sound. Now, we want to avoid the chest lifting too much. So think about your belly filling. And then we're going to close the mouth and we're going to make a kind of long, slow noise. And as that happens, the belly is going to contract and squeeze in, and it's going to help to bring energy and focus awareness into the belly, what in Japanese they call the hara, which is basically our seat of grounding in the body. So let's try one together. So we're going to breathe in. Okay, nice. So we're going to use some hand movements just to help with that sense as well. So as we breathe in, the hands lift, and as we breathe out, the hands lower and come down. So we're going to really be squeezing and focusing energy into the belly. We'll do it 3 breaths. Okay, so when you're ready. Now, at the end of that breath, just let your hands come down to the side. Maybe close your eyes for a moment and just see if you can maintain this awareness in the center of your belly, the sense of drawing in and gathering and creating our roots, our grounding, our connection with the earth. Great. Okay, so next practice, we're going to bring the hands palms face up just in front of the body. Going to bring the right hand up to the chest, and then we're going to turn the palms over so that 2 hands are going to press apart. Like you're pushing up and pushing down at the same time, 2 hands extend, and then we release and we come down. So here, we're starting to work into the energy meridians of the earth element with the stomach and the spine, which we'll talk a little bit about more in a minute. Okay, so palms facing up. This time the left hand comes up to the chest. Turn the palms over. Press 2 palms apart. What we want to avoid is 2 palms directly above each other. They're kind of separated to the sides a little bit. And then we release and we come down. We can add a bit with the legs if you want as well. So right hand up to the chest. Turn 2 palms apart, and as you press the 2 palms apart, we're going to shift weight to the right side, sink down, and let the left knee come up like this. So added extra balance just if you wish. Yep, so we release to the center. Left hand up to chest, turn palms over, press apart, and then letting the right knee lift as well. And then we release down. Now, the key to our grounding and our sense of connection is the sink. Okay, so palms face up. Right hand up to chest, turn palms over, press apart, sink down. And then release. Left hand up to chest, turn palms over, pressing apart, sinking down as the knee comes up. And then we release. Let's do it 2 more on each side. Right side, turn over. And then left side, turning over. And release. 1 more on each side. Right side. So the knee up and the balance is only an extra if you wish. And then the left side. And then release. So we're going to bring the hands onto the front of the belly and just crossing them over. Let your eyes lower, maybe close if you like. Just a couple of breaths, sensing from the belly down the feet into the floor and our connection with the ground underneath your body. Nice, eyes lifting. Okay, so the energy systems associated with the earth element, the stomach and the spleen, the organs and the meridian lines. So we know that the stomach is on the left side, just underneath the rib cage. The spleen is tucked just behind it. And actually the pancreas is also included as part of the spleen, basically as part of the spleen. So that's all on the left side. And with the energy lines, we're going to start with the stomach. So we start just underneath the eye. This is where the meridian line starts. It comes down to the corner of the mouth, and then it goes out to the jaw muscle here, and then up to the side of the head. And then it's going to run down the sides of the neck. It comes out a little bit along the collarbones, and then runs down through the nipples, and then comes down through the main abdominal muscles of the belly, and then down the front of the legs, all the way down to the second toe. So that's the stomach right the way down the front of the body. The spleen starts on the big toe and then runs up the front inside of the legs, through the groin, and then comes out just underneath the armpits. Okay, so the two meridian lines together are very much focusing on the front of the body. That's what we're going to be working with quite a lot in our class today, and also thinking about the energy of what it means to the stomach and our grounding in the earth element. Okay, so if we bring the feet hip-width apart, if you turn the hands over and then come down so that the elbows are resting on the thighs, and really let the body sink down here. So you feel like there's good connection, elbows on the thighs, sinking down. So activate the hands and lengthen through the fingers. And then we're going to pull the fingertips forwards, like they're stretching forwards. And as the elbows are gripping on the thighs, that's going to help the knees to bend. We're going to send the hands and knees forwards. And then if we disconnect the elbows slightly from the thighs, and now if you send your tailbone backwards, as far back as you can go, and at that point your toes will be light and you've got the weight in the heels. Now we turn the palms over and we reach the fingertips forwards and stretch the fingertips forwards and pull the weight right into your toes now. So we've got the tailbone going backwards, fingertips reaching forwards. Now we're going to lift the fingertips and follow that lift as we come up to the ceiling, and then letting the hands really reach up and perhaps even float behind the body so we get a real sense of lift and length and opening through the front. And then next time you breathe out, we'll come back to center and just let the hands float down. So let's do that again. I'll just come to the side. So let's do this again. I'm just going to come to the side. So we're going to come down, elbows resting on the thighs, connected, sinking. Pull the fingertips forwards, bend the knees. A little bit lift the elbows, send the tailbone backwards so the weight is right in the heels and you're about to topple backwards. Turn the palms, pull the fingertips forward so it shifts the weight right into the toes. It's like you're about to topple forwards. And then lift the fingertips, follow the arms up as you come up. And then if you feel like it's okay for your body, letting the hands drift right over the top of the body, you've got a real sense of lift underneath the rib cage, right up the front and into the neck, into the chin, into our whole front of the body. Breathing here, 2 breaths. And then when you're ready to breathe out, we'll just release the hands coming to the front. Let's take a little moment, eyes lowered, sensing. Eyes lifting. So we're going to come down, slide down the front of the body. And then as the hands reach the floor, just bring the hands to the front of the mat, about shoulder width apart, stepping your feet back to the back of the mat, about hip width apart, and shift the body weight forwards until the shoulders come over the hands. So now we're in a kind of plank position. Now, if this is strong, please bring the knees down to the floor. Or if you just rather be in this plank for just a moment before you bring the knees down, or maybe you can hold this one for a few breaths. With the shoulders over the hands, we're really activating now the front of the body, not just stretching, and now we bring energy to the front. Good. Pressing backwards and upwards into downward facing dog. So we've got a little bit bending the knees so that we can send the hips backwards and upwards, looking down to the space between the feet. Okay, let's do that transition a couple of times. Shift body weight forwards, shoulders over the hands. Here, holding a plank or bring the knees to the floor, just a few breaths, maybe 2 or 3 breaths, feeling that energy flowing through the front of the body. Send the hips backwards and upwards into downward facing dog. Next time you breathe out, shift forwards, shoulders over the hands. A couple of breaths. And then when you're ready, tailbone backwards and upwards into downward facing dog. So this time as we come forwards, shoulders over the hands, we're going to lower down. So there's lots of different options for lowering down. I would suggest knees first, and then bend the elbows and bring the chest and the chin to just touch the floor so your bum is slightly up. So that then when we slide forwards and the body goes flat on the ground, we get a good alignment. The hands are right underneath the shoulders. And we're just going to think about lengthening the front of the body. So we don't need to use the hands. They're just resting on the floor. We're just lengthening, looking up. Now we tuck the toes, press upwards and backwards into downward facing dog. Shifting the body forwards, shoulders over the hands, knees, chest and chin coming down. Slide forwards, untuck toes, and then lengthening the front. Now, if you wish, maybe a little bit press with the hands and come up a bit higher. And then we're going to tuck the toes backwards and upwards, downward facing dog. Let's do one more time. Shift body weight forwards, lowering down. Slide forwards, looking forwards and up, pressing with the hands if you wish. And then tuck the toes into downward facing dog. Let's take a couple of breaths here. Feel free to bring your knees to the ground, resting for a moment if you wish. Okay, so shifting body weight forwards, knees, chest and chin. Sliding forwards, untucked toes. Now this time we're going to bring the elbows right underneath the shoulders. They call this the Sphinx position for obvious reasons. So the hands, fingertips facing forwards, elbows underneath the shoulders. Now if this one's already quite strong for you, especially in the lower back, if it feels a bit much, please just take the elbows a little bit wider, come a bit lower towards the floor. We've got lots of control here in what you need. If it feels okay to be here, maybe thinking about relaxing the belly, softening through the lower back. Now, if at any point it starts to become a little bit uncomfortable or you feel a bit vulnerable, then please keep the belly with a little bit of tone in. Shift the elbows. So we're going to work with an acupoint here in this position, and this is stomach 3. So stomach 3 is right on the cheeks, underneath the cheekbone. It's called the great crevice. It's a really nice one to work with your face. So we can use a finger or a thumb or something like that in this position, and just kind of working your touch in underneath the cheekbone, gently, gently rubbing, softening, maybe circling. It doesn't have to be a strong push in, just very gentle here, just holding this point. Okay, now if you want to take it a little bit further with the posture, then what we can do is release the hands. We can take the hands a little bit wider so that the arms can be straight. And then we have a lot of control about how low or high we are. We can take the hands further away. We can move the hands further in to adjust here. And just finding something that's going to be comfortable for you, that's not too forceful for the lower back, but at least gives you some sense of something lengthening through the front. That's really the purpose of what we're doing here. Lengthening gently through the front of the body. And if it at all feels uncomfortable, just do less. Much better to do less for your body. So just a couple of breaths at a point which feels sustainable, beneficial. And then when you're ready, we're going to lower down, cross the hands, let your head rest on your hands here. Just take a couple of breaths, softening down. Now, our whole body is in contact with the earth, with the ground, with the mat. So here we can really sense the front of the body contacting the earth. Good. Hands underneath the shoulders, and we're going to come back to downward dog, but we're going to do it via the child's pose. So we come to sit on the heels just for a little moment. It's a really important counter move to just let the back extend in the opposite direction a little bit. And then when you feel ready, hands shoulder width apart, feet hip width apart, lifting the hips backwards and upwards into our down dog position. So we're going to do some work. Again, we lengthen the front and then we bring some energy, so strengthening the front, that pattern. So we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to bring some energy or engagement through the front of the body. You're going to take the right knee comes underneath the body, bringing it in, tucking it in close towards your chest. We're going to see if we can hold this one 3 breaths. Now, if this feels strong, do less breaths, bring the knee down, whatever you need. After the 3rd breath, extending the right leg backwards and upwards behind. Okay? So bringing the knee underneath the body, holding it 3 breaths here, feeling that engagement, the energy flowing through the front of the body. And then lengthening the foot backwards and upwards. So we're going to do it one more time if that feels appropriate for you. Bringing it underneath the body, holding it 3 breaths. High as you can, up to the chest, holding it there. And at the 3rd breath, lengthening the leg backwards and upwards. Now, what we're going to do next is bend at the knee and let the foot float over the top of the body and come down to the floor. Now, there's a couple of options, a couple of variants that we can explore depending on where your body is at. So, from this position here, in fact, to make me just turn to the side, it might be easier to see from the side. What we can do is, instead of letting the leg stay up, we can bring the knee down, okay? So we've got the right leg lengthened behind, bending at the knee, floating down so it touches the ground, and then we can open out this way. Or if it feels appropriate or possible for you to have the knee up, then we can let the leg bend at the knee, float over the top, come to touch the ground. Now, we're going to be lengthening and opening the front of the body here. So really the whole point is to have this sense of opening the front of the body. So whether you've got the knee down or the knee up, it's totally up to you. Letting the front of the body lengthen out here, maybe the hand coming to wherever it needs to allow that to happen. This sense of really opening here. Now, we've probably been here a couple of breaths already, so we're going to come out of this position, take the right foot, swing it round to the front of the mat, and let the back knee come down. So it might take you a little moment to bring that into place. Make sure you just get that foot forwards onto the floor, placing it down underneath. That's it. So that we end up with the leg nice and vertical. Let's just take a moment here, resting on the front knee, letting the body sink for a moment. Now we're going to work with another energy point. This is stomach 36. This is one of the most important energy points for well-being in the whole of our body. So it's on the leg, and it's about here on the leg, okay? So what we're going to do is find your shin bone, the sharp one at the front here, and if we just come to the side and run the hand up the side of the shin bone, and you'll feel the kind of valley, there's a kind of dip as we run up here, until it gets to the point where you're at the top of the valley. That's our stomach 36. Or alternatively, you can come from the kneecap and just come a little bit down, maybe a hand's width down, something like this, and then over to the outside. So here's stomach 36. And here we're going to just gently press into this point in our lunge position here. Going to let the hips sink, lengthening out a little bit. Gently, gently circling or rubbing or just pressing into this point. They call this one the leg 3 mile point. And the story goes that back in the day when soldiers were marching long distances, they would stop and give themselves a little massage on this point, give them extra 3 miles in their walking. So it's kind of all about releasing and helping energy flow through the legs and helping us to find connection with the ground, earth energy, and on the stomach meridian line. Yep. So just a little moment here. Okay, now once we've got this now starting to really open up, we're going to make use of this earthing, this grounding for a bit of balance. Okay, so we're going to tuck the back toes and step forwards so the back foot is up. Going to use this right foot as a real sense of grounding as we lift up here, find a balance. So you can help with the eyes, fixing them on the ground, finding this balance. Left leg comes around behind. We're going to take hold of the ankle. Now, there's different options here. If it feels like it's not going to be possible to reach the ankle, you can use a belt or strap around the ankle. One leg, hold with one hand hold, or you can also hold 2 hands. What we want to try and avoid is the knee to be out too much. We bring the knee right down so 2 knees are together to start off with, and then we're going to send the ankle and the knee backwards. You might find you can use both hands or just the other hand for helping balance. And the intention here is to find length in the front of the body. Okay, so we've got our eyes fixed on the ground. We're softening into this balance, making use of this lovely grounded earth energy to extend all the space around the belly, front of the hip, down to the knee. A couple of breaths here. Good. And then we're going to release and bring the foot back down to the ground. Let's take a moment, eyes lowered, tuning in. Good. Eyes lifting. Turn the hands, coming down, elbows resting on the thighs. Fingertips, pull the knees forwards. A little bit, lift the elbows, send the tailbone backwards. Now weight is in the heels. Turn the hands, pull the weight forwards into the toes. Lift the fingers, coming all the way up, 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 up. Lengthening up over the top of the body. And then release. Let the hands come down to the front and slide all the way down. Fingertips on the floor, and then we're going to step the feet back into a downward dog position. Looking to the space between the feet, lifting the hips upwards and backwards. Now we do all that on the other side. So left knee this time. Left knee is going to come underneath the body, and we're going to hold the knee up tight to the chest, 3 breaths. Or indeed adjusting it to fit your body, to fit your challenge level, to fit what you find is most beneficial. At the end of the 3rd breath, we extend the leg backwards and upwards. Breathing out, the knee comes underneath the body, holding it underneath, 3 breaths. Energy flowing through our channels, the front of the body. And then we extend the foot backwards and upwards. Last time, breathing out, we bring the knee underneath the body, hold 3 breaths. And then we extend backwards and upwards. Now here, we're going to let the knee bend and float the foot over the top of the body. So please feel free, if you need to, bring the other knee down to the ground and use your hands for support. Let that leg float over the top, coming to this position here, or indeed with the knee up. Let me come to the side again. With the knee bent, floating over the top. So here, We're really focusing on lengthening the front of the body through the stomach and the spleen channels, opening them up to the ceiling, but using this sense of grounding to make that happen. At the end of the next time you breathe out, we sweep the hand down, swing the leg through, and step it to the front of the mat. Please get hold of the leg and maneuver it forwards if you need to. So the leg is now front in between the hands. The back leg is untucked. And we're going to come up here and just take a moment resting in our lunge position. So sinking here. This is also a fantastic way of releasing and lengthening the front surface of our body around the hips and things. So, stomach 36. On the leg, find the shin bone, run up the shin bone, just on the outside until we get to the top of the valley. It's close to the kneecap, but not quite that far. And we're in here, just gently pressing or rubbing, massaging, waking up this point here, the leg 3 mile point, stimulating the flow of, well, what is the energy? The energy might be awareness, it might be release, a kind of relaxation, or maybe a connection, or it could be muscular control, integrity, heat, blood flow, all these things, they're forms of energy which we're helping to flow through the system. Okay. Now once we've got that and it's feeling connected and rooted to the ground, we tuck the back toes and then we step forwards to come up here. Let me just switch back here. Okay. We've got the weight here down to the left foot. We're really sinking in and let the right knee lift. Getting our balance established, fixing our eyes on the floor on something that's not moving, and just to let things settle into our balance. Taking this right leg behind, maybe catching hold of the ankle with your hand, or again, as I say, if you need a strap, just go ahead and use a strap instead. And letting this standing leg be a little bit soft, so we're not locking out the knee, just a little bit bent. And starting with the knees together, with the knee moving backwards. And it's like already you've got a sense of there's something lengthening up through the knee, thigh, hip. Maybe 2 hands coming around behind, just if you need, whatever's going to help. Now, if you find the balance tricky, you can very welcome to come close to a wall and just touch, or maybe hold a piece of furniture, something like this. Lengthening the front of the leg. Just a breathing here, letting it happen. Good. Okay, one more breath. And then we release the leg, coming back down, both legs down. Take a moment, lowering the eyes, maybe close the eyes for a moment, sensing within. What does it feel like inside your body? What is coming alive? What feels enlivened by this movement? Good. Okay, so we're going to come down to sit, this time on the heels. Now, if this feels a bit tricky to sit in this position just as is, then maybe we need a cushion. So I've got a cushion here, like this, whatever cushion, rolled up towel, something like that, just to help you to sit over and to sit on like this, maybe lifting the tail up off the heels. If it feels okay to sit on the heels, then that's cool. You might find you can actually separate the feet and sit down in between your thighs so that your sitting bones come to actually touch the floor. Now, the reason, this is quite an extreme position, you think, for every day. Do people really sit like this every day, in every day? Well, maybe not, but in yoga, the point of this is to get the sitting bones actually in contact with the ground in a way that we can sit up comfortably, right? So you might say, okay, I can do it like this as well, but sitting cross-legged is also a bit uncomfortable, end up sitting backwards like this. So it's another way of getting our sitting bones, to getting our body in contact with the earth. And I think this is a really important one for this particular element, working with the earth element. So as I say, whatever you need to do, adjustments to help you to sit comfortably upright in this kneeling position. So we're going to first work on lengthening the legs, and then we're going to work on lengthening the upper body and up through to the top part of our energy channel. So first of all, if we start to move backwards. Now, depends on where you are and what you're sitting on, how far you might be able to go backwards. Maybe it's a very small movement with the hands supporting behind as we start to sink. Maybe you're kind of up here and leaning backwards. Now, what we want to try and avoid is the knees lifting up off the ground. Going to keep the knees really firmly planted on the ground as we start to walk the hands backwards. And then the other thing to think about is the position of the hips. So as we move backwards further, what happens is that the hips, maybe they're kind of stuck, and then the movement all happens in the lower back, and we end up with this very arched position. So we're going to do the opposite. We're going to see if we can tuck the tailbone underneath and send the hips down and forwards, like in this movement here. So what that'll do is lengthen the front. So it's this movement, right? This movement. We're lengthening the front, and you'll feel that right through the thighs, all the way to the knees as you do that. So we're really protecting the lower back by sending the hips underneath, sending the tailbone underneath, and then moving in the backwards direction. Whatever you need to do with the hands, however far you get to, we're going to pause here, really thinking of the legs, lengthening through the legs. Now for me, possibly a little bit further to get that sense in my legs, but you adjust for you. So really tucking the tailbone, and let's just take a couple of breaths, really sensing and feeling out this position here. So one more breath here. And then we're going to slowly and gently start to come up. Make sure you're supported as much as you can do as you come up. Okay, so now if we consider the upper part of this movement, we're going to extend through the belly, chest, up into the neck, and up through the top of the face as well. So with the legs, you might want to adjust them from where they were, maybe to something a little bit more comfortable, maybe using a cushion, whatever you need. We're going to start to move backwards. And then as it comes to that point of like a reasonable comfort, we're going to start to really drop back here in the upper body. So you can let the chin drop back, opening through the neck. As long as you feel okay in the neck, you've got no ongoing neck problems, then that's okay to let the head drop back. We can do that. If it is a bit crunchy in the neck or it doesn't feel so good, keep the chin right down to the chest. We can still think about lengthening the belly and the chest, okay? As you come back, letting your gaze lift right up, letting the belly lift, letting the chest lift, shoulders rolling back. And breathing here. One more breath. Good. And then very gently and with control, we come back up to upright. Now, if you need to, just release the legs and give them a little bit of a shake around. You can always pause the video and do what you need to. Otherwise, we're going to see if we can combine those two aspects of this posture together in the next one. Okay? So we start moving backwards. And then as we come into the feeling of the stretch, we're going to tuck the tailbone underneath and really lengthen through the front. The whole of the front of the thighs engaged and the knees pressing down really firmly to the floor. And then we come back onto whatever support of the arms you need. And then with the tail tucked underneath, very important to tuck the tail and then allow the belly, the chest to lift, and maybe we can really start to feel this length come into the whole front surface of the body as you release into whatever version of this posture feels most appropriate for you. And we're going to breathe here 10 breaths, releasing, lengthening. Now, of course, 10 breaths is simply an invitation. If you wish to come out of it earlier, then you just go right ahead. You listen to the body and you do what it needs. Remember, the knees are pressing down to the floor and the tailbone is tucking underneath. We're probably coming up to about 10 breaths now, something like that. And at the 10th breath, we're going to come up out of it slowly, using as much support as the body needs. Remembering coming out of the posture is as important as going into the posture, and gradually we come up. So we release the legs and bringing them in front. So we're going to release the legs, and then we're actually going to come to lie on the front. So lengthening out and coming to lie on your front. So we can take the hands out in a big Y, capital Y shape, out to the side. Yeah, probably more down than they are up. So really wide, capital Y shape. And as you've got your feet extended, I'd like you to bring your attention to your big toes, and particularly to your big toe nails, and they will be touching the mat. So that's where we're going to stay. So big toenails are going to stay touching the mat. We're going to start with the right hand lifts, and then we're going to roll right over. Let the right hand come up to the ceiling, let it float over the top of the body. This is the bit where we need to be aware of our big toenails, maintaining the contact with the mat, and as the hand just floats over as far as it wants to go, enjoying this lengthening of the front of the body. A couple of breaths on this side. So next time you breathe in, let the hands lift, and then breathing out, rolling back to the center. And then we'll come over to the other side. So just bearing in mind your big toenails, let the left hand this time lift, come up over the top. Oops. So now I've done something which is probably want to avoid. So this arm gets stuck, like we can't roll any further. So the arm wants to come up, so that allows us to roll open like this. And the hand floating over the top of the body with the big toenails touching the ground. Enjoying opening. Breathing. One more breath. And then as you breathe in, the hand lifts. And as you breathe out, rolling back onto the front. Crossing the hands, letting your head rest on your hands, just for a little moment to sense. Good. And then we'll come up into sitting. So, coming to sit in a comfortable posture. Okay, so we're going to do some meditation to finish today's class. And what I'd suggest is that you sit on something rather than just straight on the floor. So maybe grab a meditation cushion or some kind of cushion, rolled up towel or yoga mat, something to sit on. And then just coming to a comfortable posture, which is going to work for your body. Something which allows you to sit up comfortably upright and not feel strained. So, since we've been thinking a lot about grounding and our connection with the earth, then that would be a good place to start. Maybe just swaying the body from side to side. Just have a sense of when you're off balance and you're on balance and off balance again. And just swaying less and less and less, like fine-tuning our posture to come right into the center where our gravity, our weight, can sink right down through the center line of our body, connecting through our sitting bones and our thighs right into the earth. And then we can let the whole body just settle into that feeling. So we can soften the face, release any tension around the eyes and the jaw and the mouth, softening the shoulders. Let the hands come to rest somewhere, maybe on the legs or maybe tucked into your lap. Somewhere it feels like the shoulders can release and relax, the hands are relaxed. And then the belly can soften, legs can soften. And we're just really settling into this feeling of being grounded, of being earthed, of finding that support, if you like, of the earth underneath. Maybe letting the eyes lower, closing them if you like, just taking a few breaths to sense into that. Now, the energy systems of the stomach and the spleen are, if they're not functioning so well, then what tends to happen is that we end up with a state of worry. We often say, like, I'm feeling worried to the pit of my stomach, or my gut's feeling a bit churned up, or get that kind of feeling. The worry, anxiety typically feels like down here in the guts and in the stomach. So when things aren't working so well, that's what we feel is very connected with the stomach itself. So first thing, to let the body know that in this position, there is nothing to worry about. I mean, there may be larger worries that are going on, but just right now, in this place, sitting on this cushion in this moment, there's nothing to worry about. And you could say, hey, body, really, there's nothing to worry about right now. What would it be like to let go of any worry and just sort of sit in this comfortable security support of the earth in this position, in this posture? So when we feel a little bit worried or anxious, one of the first places to tense up is the belly, and it's understandable. There's a very vulnerable and soft part of our being facing forwards to the world, so the belly tenses up for protection reasons. Totally fine. But again, we don't need that right now. How would it be if the belly and all the abdominal muscles and all of the muscles in the internal to the belly can again all soften and relax? The belly can just go, we don't need to be holding anything in. The posture is fully supported through the spine. We don't need the belly. We can just relax and just let it release. The other thing that happens when we feel worried or stressed or anxious is that our digestion is affected. So typically people get things like IBS or other issues going on with their digestion, maybe constipation, sometimes like that. It's all to do with tension and chemicals being in the wrong place, basically in the belly. You might say your energy is in the wrong place or not being so helpful. So as we learn to physically soften and speak kindly to our belly and our stomach, hey, it's all right, we feel safe, we feel grounded, we feel secure, we can relax and soften, then the nutrients and the chemical balance can restore, and the whole of the gut sort of thanks us for it, right? So it starts to be able to function more optimally. And one of the hormones that's very much associated with this is serotonin. Now, serotonin is one of those hormones you think about being in the brain, but actually most of the serotonin is found in the guts, and it's very connected with a sense of well-being. Serotonin is has an effect on how fast or slow our digestive processes works. So if we can find that inner balance where the digestion is functioning well, we feel soft and grounded and secure, then a whole of our internal guts area really comes into optimal functioning. So that's the stomach, the spleen, the pancreas, and of course the pancreas is very important in the production of insulin, and that's also controlling our digestive processes. So all of it very intricately linked in our feeling of well-being in the belly. So let's just allow that all to come into place. Soft, secure, safe, relaxed. And we move from a mindset of lack, a mindset of like the glass is half empty. We can move to a mindset of abundance. So this earth element, this time of the year, the harvest time, right? So harvest time is all about reaping the crops or the benefits from all the work we put in for the rest of the year. The fruit and the vegetables come in. The earth is abundant time of the year. Also the digestion, feeling abundant, feeling well looked after. So we can move to a glass half full kind of mindset where everything feels like we've got enough and it's beautiful and we feel comfortable And this is just such a more beneficial place to live our life from. So again, just letting that come into focus. Feeling like there's a sense of there's enough. There's enough. Life is abundant right now. And then as we come to the end of our practice together, perhaps swaying the body a little bit from side to side, perhaps taking a deeper breath. Letting your eyes lift when you're ready. Bringing your hands together, palms together in front of your forehead. Take a bow to honor your own practice. Coming up here, making this diamond shape on top of the head, laying it down over the crown. We come out to the side and scoop up some of the energy, bringing it into the chest and bowing to this energy we've made together, practicing together. And then from the chest we go forwards and down towards the floor, bowing and saying thank you to our teachers and all the people in history who have passed things down for us to learn today. Coming up. Thank you.